Yo, what's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I want to talk about the latest coaching news around your Minnesota Vikings. After some breaking news went down late last night, not good news for the Vikes. It's actually passing game coordinator and DB's coach Daronte Jones ended up taking the DC job with the Washington Commanders. I will say, home run hire by Washington. I think Daronte Jones could end up being one of the best young defensive minds in the NFL. Brian Flores was talking about him recently, saying he is really the guy who is making those last-second adjustments every single week before the ball is snapped. He's the one who's, adjusting to the offensive adjustments, and he is a big part in their game plan every single week. And this is a guy also, he had 5 defensive coordinator interviews. I think it was the Giants, the Jets, the Cowboys, the Commanders, and one other team. I think it was also the Pittsburgh Steelers maybe requested to interview Daronte Jones as well. But he was clearly highly touted, and that leaves another head coach opening for the Minnesota Vikings. So right now they have a total of 4. They have an offensive line coach opening after they didn't bring back Chris Cupper. Their defensive line coach did not bring him back. Their DB's coach because of Daronte Jones, and also their safety coach. So they have 4 coach openings. Well, they're still maintaining most of their coaching staff of Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, Wes Phillips, Josh McCown, really the big guns of this coaching staff. But now they have 4 openings that they need to fill. And I also will say, more bad news here on the Vikings front. Dwayne Ledford, former Falcons offensive line coach, where I know a lot of Vikings fans wanted Minnesota to potentially pursue him as him being the next offensive line coach. He actually ended up signing with the Baltimore Ravens, so Jesse Minter, really good get for his staff on that front there. But still, the Vikings losing Daronte Jones, I'm not sure it's going to be, a massive loss for this Vikings team, but it's definitely a loss. I mean, Daronte Jones clearly had a good impact. I don't think Flores was BSing to the media when he really was hyping them up, but you will see coaches do that here and there. It's just kind of hype up their own guys to try to have them go out there and get a job. But I think Flores was sincere. I think he meant what he was saying about Daronte Jones. So credit to him going to Washington to be their next defensive coordinator, but then also Dwayne Ledford going to the Ravens. Vikings lose out on another guy. Now, Carmen Brasillo is another guy to watch out for, former Giants and Raiders offensive line coach. He actually did a very good job in New York. Even though Giants have been a disaster offensively for the last couple of years, their offensive line has been solid, especially this past year, not bad. So watch out for a guy like that to be the next Vikings offensive line coach. But, hey, I'll tell you what, out of the O-line, D-line, DB, and safety coach, the one, if I had to say, the Vikings are going to have a home run hire, got to be the offensive line coach, because it is more and more looking like that J.J. McCarthy, I'm guessing, is going to be QB1 next season. I actually do have a report that I want to talk about here in just a second, but you got to nail that offensive line job because, the Vikings, and I don't know if this is why Kevin O'Connell refuses to run the football, but they just have no faith in their offensive line. I mean, KOC puts a lot of faith in them to pass block for 4 to 5 seconds every single play, but he's got no faith in them in terms of just getting downhill, being that smash mouth, power football team. And plus, it's not like the Vikings, it's not like they haven't put in a lot of resources in that offensive line. You got Christian Darrisaw, spent a first-round pick on him. Brian O'Neill is a perennial all-pro right tackle. Donovan Jackson spent a first-round pick on him. Will Fries, you just gave him $88 million this past year in free agency. Now you got to figure out that center position, especially if you do let go of Ryan Kelly, which I'm assuming the Vikings will end up doing that. But you got to nail this offensive line coach position, because if you can get the most out of Fries, Jackson, Darrisaw, O'Neill, we could be looking at this Vikings offensive line the same way how we were looking at them before the start of last season. Because I remember all of us, I was going to up on here saying, Vikings got a chance to have a top 5 offensive line. You just spent a first-round pick on a left guard. You have an all-pro left tackle in Darrisaw. Now, Darrisaw, I don't want to say a question mark around him, but the Vikings need more than what they got from CD from this past season. Now, obviously, injuries playing a big factor. Him working his way back, definitely played an impact. But if they can get Darrisaw back to an all-pro level, you can get Donovan Jackson living up to that first-round pick potential, which I think he did this past year. Will Fries, get more out of him. Brian O'Neill, kind of keep doing what O'Neill's doing. You got 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen, all check marks, and all should be home runs. He's got to find that center, and there are some good centers in the draft, which I'm sure the Vikings will target, if not on day 2 for sure, day 3 of the NFL draft. But I do want to close today's show out talking about a report on the quarterback position. So there's this Twitter account named Crack Rock, and Crack Rock is a Vikings insider, and it's kind of you know situation. But he put the Joe Burrow rumors to bed. He said Joe Burrow is not on the trade block. He followed up to say every NFL team would make multiple offers if he was. Stop believing the nonsense. This is 100% confirmed. I was laughed at for trying to bring it up. The reality is JJ is the quarterback next year. Period. Stop. I'm just a humble messenger. LFG. This makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, I would love to get up on here and have the dream of Joe Burrow being a Minnesota Viking every single day. I wish I could talk about it every single day, but I'll be doing a disservice to you guys who watch this channel and actually want some real content. Joe Burrow's not getting traded until we get a formal report where it's like Joe Burrow has went to the Bengals front office and he has requested a trade. What are we doing? It's just all speculation. Now, I do think, and why I think the Vikings will be heavily connected if that ever gets the case, because the Vikings, you could have a good trade package, multiple first-round picks, young defensive talent in either Gennard or another guy on that defensive line. Also throw in, I don't know why they would want Addison, but you can have a trade piece like Addison. You also have a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. And also Burrow, wherever he gets traded, he's going to want to sign off on wherever he's going. Minnesota would be at the top of his list. You got a really good defense. You got Kevin O'Connell. You got a bunch of good support system guys around him. So it's unlikely that Burrow will ever be a Minnesota Vikings. I think we can put that pipe dream to bed. It is what it is. I would love it. The Vikings would instantly become Super Bowl contenders with Joe Burrow. But it's just a pipe dream. And we all have known this. Like, if you've ever really gotten your hopes up on Joe Burrow, you may be drinking a little more purple Kool-Aid than I am on a regular basis. But the main point he was making here is that J.J. McCarthy will be the QB next season. And again, this makes a lot of sense too, because really what options are out there for the Minnesota Vikings? Mac Jones? I don't think they're going with Mac Jones. Kirk Cousins? Maybe they bring him in as a backup, but they're not viewing Kirk, I think, as a 17-game starter. It's going to be J.J. McCarthy. And that's the risk. This is the grave that the Vikings have dug themselves. Now, is this smoke? Maybe the Vikings are trying to keep this close to the vest. Potentially. I don't necessarily see that being the case. But it's probably going to be J.J. McCarthy, and the Vikings run it back next season. They try to do the most they can. Now, do I think they'll bring in a veteran backup quarterback? Absolutely. Is that a Tyrod Taylor, a Marcus Mariota? Maybe that's around those lines. I could see that being the case. Kirk Cousins, too. But I don't think they're going to go, and swing big for like a Baker Mayfield, because none of these guys are available. If you have a good franchise quarterback, these teams aren't making these guys available by any means. So the Vikings, I don't want to say they're stuck with J.J. McCarthy, but they necessarily are. You have to see what they have. And again. Crazy concept for Vikings fans here, I know. What if the kid gets better? What if the 23-year-old develops during the offseason? As much as I think that the Vikings should go all out and get Joe Burrow. If it's not Joe Burrow, it's JJ. It's either 9 or 9. Those are only two options. So trust in JJ developing. Hope he takes a massive step. And if he doesn't, Vikes are in a real trouble next year. Because then at the trade deadline, if the Vikes are 2-6, and it's because of J.J. McCarthy, we're probably talking about Jefferson getting traded. Now, I don't know if the Vikings will ever be 2-6 because the floor the defense gives us and the schedule we have next season. But KOC will be fired. Kwesi will be fired. Brian Flores will probably be promoted to head coach. Now, normally we have never really seen that work out in the NFL, where you have the coordinator get promoted to the head coaching position. But I think with Brian Flores, it would work. A lot of pressure on this organization. And again, is this team going to collapse? Is this organization going to collapse and succumb to the pressure? Or is pressure going to create diamonds? And there's a lot riding on J.J. McCarthy. I still believe in him. I just don't know how quickly he's going to develop. I'm hoping it's fast because, man, Kevin O'Connell needs it. Justin Jefferson needs it. This fan base needs it, J.J. McCarthy. So you guys let me know down below. You believe in him? Do you believe in J.J. McCarthy? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no down below in the comment section. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.